Well, today, everybody, we're going to be talking about what is probably the most talked about guitar that I own, and that is my 1978 Gibson Les Paul Custom. In this video, I want to give you 5 interesting facts about this thing because this guitar has been with me for quite some time, and it's got quite the story, alright? Because it is a pretty fascinating guitar. So I guess this is kind of fact number 1, but not really. It's kind of the obvious. Yes, this is from the Norlin era. So the Norlin era is from like 1970 to 1985, I believe, in the Gibson, saga. And the Norlin era guitars are really kind of known for being like really kind of quirky and interesting, but kind of bad as well, right? Budget constraints, cutting costs, a whole bunch of stuff was going on way before I was alive. But yeah, man, they're certainly a special era of Gibson guitars. So the first interesting fact about this guitar right here is it is in fact a one-piece mahogany body and not a pancake body. Basically what was happening in the Norlin era is they were pancaking pieces of wood together and forming the Les Paul body. Now the lore and the myth is that the sandwich bodies aren't exactly the best sounding. I don't know if that's true or not, we could argue that all day, right? But yeah, man, sticking with this guitar, this is one of the good ones, quote unquote, one-piece mahogany body. And depending on who you ask on the internet, that's kind of a rarity in the Norlin era. Interesting fact number 2 with this guitar is it has had a ton of repairs and modifications. But at first glance, it looks pretty clean, right? So I bought this off of Reverb.com with the knowledge and under the impression that this is going to need a refret very, very soon. I bought this with kind of almost no frets, borderline a fretless wonder. I was able to get away with it for the first couple months that I owned it, and I was just honestly pretty excited just to have an old school Les Paul Custom. So when I bought it, it wasn't the most playable, right? So I went to get this refretted from a local luthier in the Philadelphia area, and I went to this person with a recommendation in mind. Somebody told me that, oh, they're going to do really, really good job, right? Well, it actually didn't go so well. Basically, I got a refret, but the person just like kind of jacked the fretboard up and they started to like chip away at the ebony, right? And unbeknownst to me, I learned the hard way, I guess, like ebony's kind of a harder wood to kind of rip the frets out because it splinters and flakes off really, really easily, right? So I got a refret, but it kind of chewed up the fretboard and I was very, very upset. And long story short, I found somebody else to fix this guitar. So I fell in and out of love with this guitar very, very quickly, and I was super bummed. But luckily, I met Ron at Arpeggio just outside of Philadelphia, and he just absolutely just took care of this thing, did a nice refret job, and was able to make this guitar playing again. Let me hide the serial number here, but yeah, another modification is hip shot locking tuners. That's pretty standard with almost all my guitars, especially, Les Paul guitars. I love hip shot tuners. I've used Schallers and stuff like that as well, but hip shots, I don't know, they're kind of just my go-to for whatever reason. We've also put some bright neon orange DiMarzio strap blocks just for whenever I play live. I've played this guitar live a couple times. Yeah, so these are on here kind of permanently, and I love DiMarzio. DiMarzio's been so good to me lately. So yeah, man, if I get to rep their strap when I play live, that's cool. Last but not least, the last modification is the bridge. So if you look right now, we have a roller bridge on this guitar. This guitar has had 3 bridges in its life. It came with the original bridge, which I still have it in the case, but the bridge itself was just like kind of corroded and there's like really like deep grooves just from having string tension on it for all these years, right? Not only that, but it was also bowing and it was starting to get flattened out and it wasn't contouring with the radius of the guitar. It was time to, just get an upgrade. So I first got a regular old Gibson bridge, but it really wasn't holding tuning all that well. So I tried one more time, 3rd time's a charm. I put the roller bridge on this guitar and then I had my luthier put on a brand new nut, and wouldn't you know it, holds tuning great now. So yeah, long story short, man, I've had a ton of modifications, repairs, and a lot of fight with this guitar to get it to be where it's at right now. Now I love it, but it took a long time to get there. Interesting fact number 3, it's not necessarily a fact, but it is more or less an observation, and that is just how this guitar has been relicking very, very fast. So I found the original Reverb listing when I bought this guitar in 2019. It was out in Virginia, and if you take a look at the pictures, the guitar was relicked and worn in pretty significantly already. But the main thing is, I'll take some B-roll shots outside with this guitar, but the neck has worn in significantly. Almost all of the finish on the back of the neck has been worn off by me. And that's really cool, man. I love that so much. Also, too, ever since I started gigging with this thing and just getting all hot and sweaty on it, it's really starting to wear in where my forearm lays. That's pretty cool. The DiMarzio clips from my strap locks is starting to give it that little kind of wear spot right there. I think that's super cool. I love that so much. And then on the back of the guitar, the buckle rash is continuing to wear and just get bigger and bigger, right? So this thing, born in the summer of 78, is almost 45 years old to the day, which is pretty cool, man. So yeah, it certainly looks the part of a 45-year-old guitar, and it's starting to wear in pretty cool. Hey everybody, real quick, I just want to talk about today's sponsor, and that is Sweetwater. What a cool statement. If you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with what Sweetwater is and who Sweetwater is, but basically, it's arguably the best online distributor of music gear around the world. This is so cool to me because I've been using Sweetwater ever since I was a little kid, so if you, the player, want to grab a new guitar, a new amp, a new pedal, a new set of strings, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to buy, Sweetwater's got you covered. And speaking of gear, today in this video, I've been using on my Norlin era Les Paul Custom the Dragon Skin DR strings. I've been using DR strings off and on for the better part of 5 years, since really the beginning of this YouTube channel, and honestly the fact that we're talking about them right here right now is super cool, man. These Dragon Skin strings are basically coated strings, and it's to help with not only sound but performance and fight corrosion as well. I got the 10-46 on this guitar for the better part of a couple days, man, and they just sound absolutely great, and they feel really good too, man. The coating on the strings makes them feel a little bit like slippery, you know what I mean? It makes them feel fast, and they feel really good in the hands, but also too acoustically, they just are very bright and very loud, and they just kind of just ring, man. So I think that translates, especially when you plug your guitar in, it just makes your guitar just sound huge, dude, you know? So I'll put the product page and the link to the Dragon Skin DR strings down below in the description, as well as the link to sweetwater.com. If you use these links, they help out the channel, man. So if you guys want to go scoop up some new strings, I'd really sincerely appreciate it, man. And these strings feel really, really good on this old school Les Paul. So again, if you want to scoop up some gear this weekend or just whenever you're watching this video, head on over to sweetwater.com and they'll take care of you, okay? The next interesting fact I want to talk about my Les Paul Custom is how much I paid for this on reverb.com. For those of you guys who watch my channel regularly, you guys know I always keep an eye on the used market and just seeing where the value of a used guitar is, and it's just kind of frustrating because the market has just gotten way out of control over the last couple years. Although it's slowly but surely kind of tapering off and maybe coming down slightly, it's still way out of control and way out of hand compared to what it was when I bought this guitar. You guys ready for this? This is gonna blow your mind. Shipped to my door with everything, this guitar I paid $2,495 for it. That's insane for what this guitar is. If you find the exact same guitar on the used market right now on Reverb, you will find it for maybe $4,000. So in late February 2019, I was able to get this to my house for under $2,500. That's amazing. And truthfully, when I bought this guitar more or less as like a placeholder, like, oh cool, I have a Les Paul Custom. But I was always trying to get like, I don't know, like a Cherry Burst Northern Era Les Paul Custom, or like a Silver Burst, especially Les Paul Custom. But because of the used market, they all became way out of my reach and unobtainable. So I always just kind of just held on to this one, and now here we are almost 5 years later into owning this guitar. And yeah, it's here for the long run. Like, this guitar just became my Les Paul Custom just because the used market just went way out of control. I'm going to piggyback off of that last interesting fact, and this may be an additional interesting fact, but it's kind of related. The interesting fact is the natural finish of this guitar is probably my least favorite finish on a Les Paul Custom. It's between this one and Wine Red. I don't know, it's a toss-up. Kind of like what I was saying, I always wanted this one to be a placeholder. I've always dreamt of a Norlin Era Silver Burst Les Paul Custom, and I've always dreamt of like a Cherry Burst Les Paul Custom, similar to like Ace Frehley, right? But again, the used market just went way out of control. So although this is not necessarily my favorite color on a Les Paul Custom, I've kind of learned to embrace this guitar and just kind of just accept the fact that, you know, a lot of people really dig this one, and a lot of people think of me when they think of this guitar, or vice versa. And for that, I've kind of learned to embrace it, and I think it's pretty cool, man. And last but not least, let's talk about the sound with this guitar. This guitar is very interesting sounding. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about tone woods per se, but what's interesting is this guitar has a lot of maple on it. It has a maple neck, 3-piece maple neck, and a maple top on a mahogany body. And I don't know if it's just a coincidence, match that with the T-top pickups, but all this encompassing, this guitar has a very kind of bright sound to it. Certainly a lot brighter than some of the other Les Pauls I've had on this channel or just in my collection. And I'm not saying that's attributed to the wood or the pickups or what, but regardless, it kind of has a brighter sound to it. Coinciding with the sound of this guitar, the pickups in this guitar, they're completely stock, and they kind of have like a medium to medium low output. I have to dig in very, very hard to get this guitar to respond the way I'm kind of used to how a guitar responds with like a higher output pickup. But that being said, this guitar sounds really, really kind of just beautiful, you know? I don't know if it's the pickups, the woods, I don't know what the hell it is, man, but it just kind of has like a brighter sound, but also too a kind of reserved sound. You got to really dig in to make it scream. So everybody, those are all the interesting facts with this 1978 Gibson Les Paul Custom. Like I said in the beginning of this video, this guitar is very, not polarizing, but it's heavily talked about. Like anytime I post a picture or anytime I play a gig with this guitar, somebody always wants to talk about it. And I think that's really cool, and I'm super honored to, in the words of Joe Bonamassa, be a custodian for this guitar for the time being, you know what I'm saying? So maybe you guys learned something, but if not, I hope you guys enjoyed just me talking about my favorite era of the Gibson saga, and that is the Norlin era, okay? So again, if you want to scoop up some gear this weekend or just whenever you're watching this video, head on over to sweetwater.com and they'll take care of you, okay? So a huge shout out to DR Strings and Sweetwater. I'll put their links down below in the description of this video as well as the pinned comment. Go check them out, man. Go use those links. It helps me out, and I just, would really appreciate it, okay? Go pick yourself something up from Sweetwater today. They're awesome. All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. Be sure to subscribe on your way out the door. Y'all stay safe, stay healthy, stay metal. See you guys next time. Later.